Hey everyone, John here from All Miniatures Great and Small, and today's episode of 3D printing what's on the table. I've been meaning to make this video for a while, probably 6 months or so, and never really got started because I didn't feel like I could do it justice for what I wanted. But finally I sat down and said, okay, today is the day. We are talking about my basically Imperial Guard proxy for Warhammer 40k, but I had an Imperial Guard army that was all Games Workshop models, and it was getting kind of old, and those kits are old, and my painting was not that great, so I just wasn't too terribly happy with them, so I felt like I needed a refresh on that army. And with 3D printing, that's an ideal time with the choices you have to find something else to play with. If you don't like the GW models, there's plenty of proxies out there. And I embarked on a month-long process of finding what models I wanted to use as my Imperial Guard proxy. And as a lot of you guys know, if you follow the channel, I do a lot of Flames of War and Team Yankee. One of my all-time favorite military vehicles is, of course, the Sherman tank. And imagine my surprise and happiness when I found a 3D model that had been referred to as the Sherman Russ. And it was like, oh, okay, I think I might have found something. So I found these going on to My Mini Factory, and My Mini Factory is a great resource for STL files, particularly for our hobby. You know, there's 3D Cults and Thingiverse, all of those are great sites. My Mini Factory, I've used a lot. I've been more successful finding, but a lot of designers cross-platform their stuff. So I found the Sherman Russ, and then digging into his page, I found he had a lot more cool models. So on a lark, I paid for the files for the Sherman Russ. These are paid files; they're not free. And downloaded it and printed one, and I absolutely loved it. Not only, and I got it here, not only did I love how it looked, because it looks like a Sherman tank and, 40K-ified, little World War I-ified, but the actual design of the kit, to me, was really impressive. The way that the designer created this model, the way that he 3D modeled it, was very impressive to me. And what I mean by that is everything seemed to slot together really well. Sometimes you glue the track piece to the hull, you don't necessarily know if you get it in the right spot, but this was very, very easy. There was slots and tabs for everything, and it was easily set up for magnetization of all the weapons options. Some weapons options don't even need magnetization, but for example, I kind of went wild with it. You can magnetize, like for example, the sponsons, put a panel there to remove the sponson completely, or swap out all the weapons within the sponsons. You can change out the weapon in the turret. You can change the weapon, the hull-mounted weapon, and really mix it up. And so with that, I joined the Patreon for a month to check it out. And that's what I try to do with this channel, to give focus to some designers, is join there. I guess it's not his Patreon. On My Mini Factory, they have what's called Tribes, which is basically like a Patreon, but on My Mini Factory. And it makes it real easy because you join the tribe, and the stuff you get as part of that membership just kind of show up in your library, and usually you get a discount. I forget with this what the discount was for buying stuff that he'd already released. Now more about the designer. On My Mini Factory, they go by Golden Dragon Games. They also have a Facebook page, and he's really expanded this range of World War II science fiction vehicles. Right now, he's got like almost 100 different STL models in different factions. which is really cool. Now, I was using it as a proxy for 40K, but the designer there is actually making his own kind of steampunk or steam diesel Americana game using his models. So he's actually building his own game using his, creating his own history with these models. So these are American tanks in his game. And one, I think it's brilliant. I mean, there are people who do a one-for-one copy of Games Workshop. How you guys feel about that's your own business. I don't necessarily like that, but these are obviously their own thing. Games Workshop can't say diddly about it looking like a Sherman tank. And that to me is really cool, but it's got weapons options so you can mimic the loadout of a Lemon Russ in 40K, for example. Makes me very happy. Just to kind of go over what I've printed and kind of show you what he had. Not only does he have these cool Sherman tanks, and I've got, I think, three printed up here, with like exposed tracks or covered tracks, lots of different options. He also had I think this is a Grizzly, he calls it, which could be used as like a Rogel Dorn. He does have some tanks that don't necessarily have a one-to-one analog with Warhammer 40K, and I think that's cool too. And this one again too is magnetized, the main barrel, the sponsons. He also has a multi-purpose APC, which is called the Caprini, I think, and it is, by multi-purpose, I mean it's one kit that you can print, and then you can use that and buy add-ons to turn it into other things. So for example, this is an artillery piece, but this compartment actually is removable, and you could put something else in here. A compartment for infantry. You could also remove this piece, although it's a little stuck, and put a turret there. And I'll show that a little bit more with a not complete model. So you can swap out the hull gun. You can really customize this. He has several artillery versions, and it's really easy to slide in and out. Same thing with this. This is the same hull, but it's like a flamethrower tank. This part comes out. This part can come off, and you could turn it into anything else. So you want a Hellhound in one battle, you want a Chimera in the next battle, you could do that easily without too much problem. But, I mean, just look at that thing. I love it. He also has some cool Sentinels, which I really liked. These Sentinels are kind of reminiscent of like a B-17 ball turret, and he's got that theme through several of his models, like the Walkers. This is like the Scout version, and again, it's fully magnetized, and really cool model. Okay, so that's what I've painted so far. Next, I'll show you some of the things I'm in progress of that I think are pretty cool. All right, next, just to talk a little bit more about the build process. So this is stuff I'm currently working on. This is the super heavy tank that he offers. I think it's the Kodiak maybe, but this is called the Nanook, and it's basically a super heavy tank destroyer. Think like Shadow Sword in Warhammer 40K, but obviously it's a a sci-fi steampunk version of the T-28 American super heavy tank from the end of World War II, which in a concurrent video you can check out a smaller scale version of that vehicle in the new Gale Force 9 Clash of Steel game. Just a side note. But anyway, I love this model. I've always loved this tank, the T-28, and having a steampunk version of it is pretty cool. Even like the side sponsons that it has are actually like M3 Lee turrets. They look like M3 Lee tank turrets. It's just a wonderful kit. Now this one could be magnetized too. You could magnetize a bunch of parts and turn it into a heavy tank. I chose, well, I did magnetize some of it. I did not go all out magnetizing on this just because I wanted this version. This version, this one actually too, I tried something new. So about half of this is resin, or a little bit, probably a little bit more than half of this is resin. The outer shell is all resin done on my Elegoo Saturn 8K. But the core body parts I actually 3D printed in with my bamboo P1P. So that would be like in PLA filament. And one, it gives it a really solid core. PLA doesn't crack or break quite as easily as resin. And the dimensions are a little bit better fitting together. And then I bolted on all the resin detail parts. But like the outside tracks are resin, the inside tracks are actually FDM. And to my eye, they're pretty hard to distinguish, especially after this bad boy's painted. I had such a good result with the FDM printing with the Bamboo Labs that I actually tried to print a whole vehicle in FDM. Now this is primed in black, or no, I think I might have used just black PLA. But it is, you know, really hard to tell that this wasn't resin. If you get really close, you can see some of the layer lines, but with the primer, I gave some of this a hit with some sandpaper. I think when it's painted and has camo, people aren't going to be able to tell unless they're coming up and scratching my model to feel the texture of the hull. And 3D printing something like this on bamboo is a great alternative. The only caveat I could give you is, since it's not designed for FDM printing, you do have to kind of find the best orientation yourself. And this running gear, it does need some supports, and that support material can be a bear to get out. But otherwise, very easy, very pleasant experience. And then, like, actually, this is in resin. This is like a missile launcher for this guy. And again, it just slots in, and you can magnetize missiles. This part I made in resin on the Saturn to put on the hull. Same thing with, you could, you know, turn it into a, this is what their APC looks like with the turret and a transport compartment. And like the resin fits right in with the FDM hull. I mean, looks pretty cool. I love that the turret that he has for the APC is like a Greyhound M8 armored car turret. Yeah, I just love it. So yeah, so this is Golden Dragon Games. You can find them on My Mini Factory. He's also, like I said, on Facebook. Check him out. If you like what his stuff is, give him some love. Check out his tribes. Check out all the stuff he wants. I think it's a great alternative to and give you kind of a unique 40K army. Or check out his rules for his new game, Marchers. I forget if there's a subtitle to that, which is kind of steampunk or steam diesel, I think he calls it, you know, alternate universe. And it looks like a lot of fun. I think at some point we might check out that game. But in the meantime, like I said, go ahead and check him out. Throw him some love if you like what you see. This is not a sponsored video or anything by that. I bought all these files, and I'm not in a sponsorship with him, but I just am so impressed with the models he created and how nice they come out that I wanted to share that with you guys, and thought you might like it. All right, guys, there you go. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do consider giving us a like and subscribe. Click that bell to receive notification when we publish new content. As always, thanks for watching, and keep on gaming.